Good morning. This is Baton Rouge Labor Radio. I'm Michael D. Day, along with Neil Paul Miller, business manager of the Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local in 198 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This morning we're at the Louisiana AFL-CIO Convention, as it's, I guess it's already convened, called to order. This is the second show we've done from here. We've done one exactly last year. And our first guest this morning, it is the 58th annual convention. And we're sitting here with one that has called this AFL-CIO convention, Louisiana AFL-CIO convention. She has called it to order on several occasions. Ms. Sybil Holt, please introduce yourself, Sybil.
Good morning, listening audience. I am Sybil Suarez Holt. I am past president of the AFL-CIO and currently president emeritus for the AFL-CIO. I also serve as president and CEO of S. Holt Construction out of Alexandria, Louisiana.
Okay, that's it?
That's who I am these days.
Well, I guess we could, I guess the first question is, the first time that you had to call the convention to order, how did it feel?
It was absolutely wonderful because I took the reins at a very unique time. It was the anniversary, the 50th anniversary of this organization, and fate just was in my favor, and I got to be the president at that time. It was a celebration among celebrations, absolutely fabulous convention, total cooperation, extremely large audience. It was absolutely wonderful. One could not have asked for anything better.
And you were on the heels of a great legend. I mean,
absolutely. That was my mentor, my tutor, my counselor. He was everything to me. And, I credit him everywhere I go. Everything I know about labor, Victor Busey taught me. I mean, he used to have a saying, you always help your friends. Try to get rid of your enemies.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something else, Sybil, that I've noticed over the years about you. You're not scared to help people out, and one of the big benefits that I've seen from your legacy is the man that you passed the torch on to, Lewis Wren. I think that you did. I think Lewis does a remarkable job, but I think he was tutored by one of the best, or two of the best.
Well,
Victor and yourself.
When he came into the organization, I knew he was the one. I mean, he has a heart. And to be in the labor movement, I tell everybody, we're nothing but big social workers. That's what we are. We find jobs for people. We help your children get food stamps. We get your kids into the hospital. We work for workers' rights, decent money, decent working conditions. We're big social workers. And you have to have a heart to be able to do that all the time. Vic and I used to laugh all the time and say, we find jobs for people paying double and triple the money we were making. Maybe we ought to quit and get a job. But we loved what we did. It was truly a labor of love. And it still is.
Well, and over the years, going to the Capitol every
morning,
yeah.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, because I know you're the one that made this. Well, Victor did too, but you fine-tune the way they do things at the Capitol now.
Well, we had a policy. We were there before anybody came, and we had to stay until everybody left. Because you could not ever be sure, just because you accomplished a victory of some sort, that if you left, they would not bring up the issue and reverse what you had done. So we instilled in our staff that, first of all, you had to be knowledgeable. You had to read those bills. You had to understand those bills. You had to understand the history of those bills. You needed to know who would be on your side and who would be against you. And because someone has a different opinion, do not make them an enemy. That only means they have a different opinion. And you have to respect that opinion. And hopefully they will do yours. And like I say, we were there before legislators came into the chamber, and we would not leave until they left. You cannot just go and think you can appear before a committee and that's going to change the world. No, you need to do a lot of legwork in advance, and that has always been our policy, and I think the key to our success.
Well, Sybil, let me stop you right there. Explain to the listeners, big business or different organizations hire lobbyists.
Absolutely.
To go to the Capitol and lobby for something that they want. Our people, which is
working people.
Working
That's right.
people, our people basically have lobbyists there too to make sure that these particular bills that they're introducing isn't going to harm
the workers.
Neil, they're called not activists, but they're not called. You're not a lobbyist if you work for the AFL-CIO, right? You're not considered. You're a I forget what Louis Wren calls it.
Okay, he may call it something, but a rose by any other name is still a rose.
Well, that's what I told him. But
we are lobbyists, and that is not a dirty word.
No, it's
not.
not.
We have a right to look after the benefits of working people who can't be there for themselves. That's our job. That's not what we do. That's who we are. Okay?
It's a worker's voice.
It's a worker's voice, and we're always in the minority, always. Because it is just us. And on very special issues, we might be able to pull one or two outside organizations in, but it's just us, holistically, against all of the business community. Just like as few as we are, with those few, we try to represent all segments of working people, government people, state people, firemen, police, whatever, communication, hospital. We try to do it all with those few people. Well, imagine this, about 9, 10 of us, and there's about 200 and something other lobbyists. They're all business.
And you know what I've noticed also over the years with the AFL-CIO, it doesn't have to be an issue that is union related.
Absolutely
it is,
not.
When you start looking at some of the things that y'all address for the poor, for the needy, for the sector of people that don't have a voice. That's what I see out of this.
If you notice, I rarely say union workers. I say Louisiana workers, because we represent them all, whether they realize it or not. Say what you want. The 40-hour work week came from labor. Say what you want. Equal pay for equal work come from labor. Say what you want. Minimum wage, as meager as it is, would be a lot less if we wouldn't fight those battles. People having health insurance, which is key, or retirement. Who wants to work 30 years and have nothing? But I tell you what, unknown to most people in this state, the staff of AFL-CIO, until I came on staff, that's exactly what they did. They worked for years, 30 and 40 years, had no retirement for themselves, even though they fought on a daily basis to make other workers, have a retirement, and had never thought about themselves. I was devastated when I came here, because I came from AT&T, where benefits were set, and I found out Victor Busey didn't have a retirement. Not only did he have a retirement, he wasn't making any money. And on top of that, under his administration, we could not accept not transportation, not per diem or anything from any entity, because he never wanted us to be compromised by what they thought they were giving us. Even though we were working on boards and agencies across this state, we never received a dime for that. Never. And even under my administration, when I came in, I said, well, we can't afford it, because we didn't have the membership, we didn't have the money. We can't afford to keep paying to travel cross country to represent, agencies of any sort. So we were limited only to travel if they asked us to go, out of state and travel. Yeah, we accepted the travel expenses, but we would never accept a per diem or any kind of money for expenses and stuff. We paid our own way because we felt that's what we needed to do in order to keep our independence.
No, and I agree with you 100%. And again, I respect what the staff with Victor Busey and yourself have accomplished over the years. Let's get on a little personal note, and and we were talking about your company. Can you explain that a little bit to us? I heard it's pretty unique in what you do, and I think it's it's good?
Well, you know, I tell everybody, Neil, I know I was blessed. I discovered that there were no African American female general contractors in all of Rapides Parish. Not one. And only 2 minority men that had a general contractor's license. So I said, this looked like a niche for me. And I packed up my bags and I moved to Alexandria. Well, when I got there, let's be real, all I know is labor. When I hired, I paid union wages, even though there was no union attached to it, because what I didn't realize is that several of the construction unions do not work on residential projects. But I didn't care. Whatever they paid their union people, I paid mine, my workers. So much so that there was quite a few contractors, subs, that came and said, you can't do that because we can't afford to pay those. And I said, well, you can't afford to work for me. You know?
Yeah.
Because I can't have 2 carpenters working side by side, one making $9 and the other one making 16 something. Everybody work equal, they need to be paid equal. So I kind of set a base. I was liked by some, of course, the workers. I was disliked by others. But it didn't matter to me because fair is fair. And what happened, I'm grateful. You know, I started applying for state and federal contracts who have to deal with Davis-Bacon. Well, if you deal with a federal contract, you have to pay Davis-Bacon. You want to make the money? And I never understood their argument. If the government is going to pay it, why wouldn't you give it to the workers? They're going to reimburse you for whatever you pay.
Right.
I didn't understand their logic. We can't afford it. Heck yeah, you can. You're getting the money to pay it.
But Sybil, as a union leader, and I guess I should understand this better than I do, but you know, you hear about these projects that are awarded by the federal government with the Davis-Bacon money, but there are loopholes in this where the Bobby Jindals of the world get around it, and they don't pay Davis-Bacon on some of these projects. How do they do that?
Because they've put us in position on large projects, and that's what you're talking about. You know, you have to have what they call a project agreement, and it's negotiated like a contract. They choose not to negotiate, and then, you know, you have people like, and I'm going to call the Hyatt at one time, he would pay 1 penny above what the union wage to keep the union out.
Yeah.
Okay? But then there was other ways they were able to cheat and not pay workers their fair due. You know, like in the restaurants, those people were making like back then, 2 something an hour plus tips. You know, even as late as, you know, 7-8 years ago when we were fighting the Hotel Motel Association, you were paying $18 gratuity, and you think that's going to the workers. No, only 11 at that time was going to them, and the hotel kept the rest.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not. No, I am not. Now, I don't know what the policy is now because I've been gone 7 years. But back then, you know, I was infuriated when I found out these people were not getting the money. Okay? Because that's why we gladly paid the gratuity everywhere we went, because we thought they got it all. Not so, mon ami, not back then. Now, like I said, I don't know what the policy is now because I have not kept up with it. But there's ways they get around this, you know, and unless you're in the industry yourself, you just don't know.
Well, let's get back. I kind of sidetracked you a little bit. Let's get back to your company.
Okay.
I mean, when did you start it?
I started the company the year I left the AFL-CIO in 06.
Little mom and pop, and have you grown pretty?
Right. If you can believe this, I sat in Alexandria for about 9 months with not a contract, not, you know, any workers, because I was new there. I didn't know the people. I didn't know the system. Well, I was fortunate enough to meet a gentleman by the name of Reverend Joe S. Green. Well, like I said, divine intervention. Joe Green used to work under the Carter administration, under Alexis Herman, the first African-American female Secretary of Labor, and Ernie Green, one of the Little Rock Nines. Joe handled recruitment and training for the federal government in the state of Louisiana and other places. He was a cement mason by trade himself. He understood labor. He loved labor. He used to be president of the A. Philip Randolph Institute. When we got together, you know, he was trying to build houses, but with no money, no contacts, no anything in that area. And I said, look, if I can help you get the money, will you give me a chance to be a contractor? Because I hadn't built anything at that time. He said, if you can help us get the money, you can do anything you want. And from that, a wonderful relationship started. He has a nonprofit, okay? We signed what we called a development team agreement, where I became the contractor for all of that nonprofit's construction work. And I would use him if I had to have a developer for anything I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So we signed, an agreement and shook hands. And because we both had a labor background, there was never a conflict of how we pay, why we pay. We were paying cement masons to do apartments like $24, an hour, mm-hmm. unheard of in the Alexandria area.
How much an hour, Sybil?
24.
Cement.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that.
And
you had people fighting to work for you.
And Mike, Mike stepped out for just a second. Did you hear what she said? She went 9 months without anything when she first went there.
That's right.
That's amazing. Do you have anything coming up? You got any big projects?
Let me finish telling you, because this is a wonderful story.
Okay.
My first contract was $2.8 million, if you can believe it.
How much?
2.8.
$8
million.
Wow.
That was my very first contract.
Were you scared?
No, I knew I could do this. I told them that, I would be able to build houses, 20 houses within 1 year. Okay? They, of course, did not believe in, I assumed thought I would fail miserably. But, it's no rocket science.
When you pay a decent wage, it's not that bad.
That's right. And you lay all your foundations first because of the weather. If weather is inclement, you get the foundation and your frame and you can work inside. Mm-hmm. So I knew that. I mean, I didn't have to be a long-term contractor to figure that program out. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. I did 12 of them, the foundation. I phoned them, put the foundation. And after that, then I just laid the foundations for the rest of them and I started framing. So, I mean, when weather came, I had something to do when other contractors didn't because of the way I laid out the project.
And I wish the audience could be here because Sybil talks with her hands a lot too. It's pretty fun watching her. She's framing and hammering as she's talking.
And it was so funny because they assumed a woman would not know anything. And some of them were really very ugly to me. You don't know a darn thing. You must know somebody. I say, yeah, I know Jesus. He helps me out.
Now, Sybil, are you a hands-on? Do you go out on the job site a pretty good bit, or?
Absolutely. Yes, I am.
I didn't even have to ask.
Yes, I am. So much so I had one and I.
Did the listeners just hear that? Mike said he didn't even have to ask that.
Well, on that very first job, I had some young carpenters and stuff, who wanted to argue with me about what do I know about building. I had never built anything before, and I said, "You're right." I said, "But I don't have to know. Not really. I just have to be smart enough to hire people who know, and then be smart enough to be able to check their work. And I know good work. I came out of union. Yeah. I know what good work looked like." But anyway, he had put this strong man and did new support walls, and was trying to convince me, that that was going to hold that house. And I said, "It's not. It's going to curve." Well, he argued with me. I didn't know this. I didn't know anything. Well, he had done some other things I didn't like. Needless to say, he didn't stay with me after that house. But anyway, I said, "Okay, you won't listen to me." I called the inspector. And I said, "Now you tell him that's not going to support this house. And tell him you don't scab." He had rafters that he hooked to on. Mm-hmm. You don't scab on no new house.
Right.
I mean, what kind of crap is that?
Mm-hmm.
He even put one of my doors back. And I just went through everything in that house that was wrong. And the inspector looked at me. He said, I had questions about you before, too. He said, "But I'm convinced you know how to build a house." I said, "Yes, sir, I do."
Wow.
And then I fired him, that little guy.
Anything coming up? You got some projects coming up or got some in the works?
Let me tell you, we're waiting on, we built 8 apartments. I just finished them a couple of months ago. And we're waiting for the RFP to come out because we'd like to do at least 20 on that site.
Which one of those 8 are you giving away?
None. All of this is government affordable housing, and you have to qualify by income. But there's a lot of state workers that would qualify. for these houses.
And Sybil, are you planning on branching out to maybe other parishes, or are you planning on staying where you're at, or what?
No, to be very honest with you, I'm really thinking about winding this construction thing down. I'm getting kind of old, Neil. I'm almost 70.
You're kidding.
And I don't want to be on a job site having to curse out people, by stealing my materials and all this. So I decided I'm going to move to another phase of my life. I'm presently in the process of getting licensing to do a residential facility for homeless veterans. Something different, but something not quite as, aggressive. And I have to be, because when you work in an old man's world, who don't think you belong there anyway, you can't be timid. Mm-hmm. And I don't like the person I have to be on the job site, because I have to be that person all the time. With you guys, y'all used to, PO me, I curse y'all, and we move on. But out there, when you're on the job site, you have to command respect and authority. You can't afford to let them steal or waste your materials. No. Not only is it my money, but it's taxpayers' money. We're doing this for the government. That's taxpayers' money. And people have a right to have good, quality, decent housing. Mm-hmm. So, it's been a fun 7 years, and I'm probably going to do 2 more in the process of closing, shutting it down. I have a few projects now. I'm building a house, one in Lake Charles. I'm doing one in Franklinton. I'm going to finish those out. And if I get a major project, I'll stay. The money's good.
Right.
But short of that, I'm thinking about shutting it down, because I'm getting too old.
Well, are you going to sell your company or just close it down?
Well, I have options. I haven't decided. If someone was to come and make me a decent offer,
right.
I would certainly consider it. But like I say, I moved from the FL-CIO to this, and I plan to move from this to the Veterans Center, because it's kind of like a mission in my heart. It's something I want to do. I don't think they treat our veterans right, and I just have never been able to understand why, after serving our country, they're living on the streets.
Yeah, that is. I don't understand that myself. Sybil, you had mentioned that you were with AT&T. Give us a little history of how you came up the ranks to where you are today.
I was one of the first, and when I say 1 out of 28, one out of the first 28 people, African Americans, hired here in the state for AT&T. I was in New Orleans at the time, and I came in as an operator. But, back then, that was in 64, 65. Even though there was a union, they weren't used to any black folk there. So,
And how many employees did AT&T have back then? Hundreds or thousands?
Thousands.
Okay.
Thousands. They had 6 units of just operators. And I would imagine the board must have been about 25, 30 seats, that they had 3 shifts a day. And like I said, there were 6 units of them. Plus they had information, and they had some other kind of stuff just in that unit. But there's test desmans, and there's tollmen, and there's repairmen. Just thousands. Mm-hmm. Let's be real. And, I went in as an operator, and as soon as they took us in, they found ways to get rid of us. Now, even a bad union is better than no union at all. And I had enough common sense to know that. So we got amongst ourselves and said, some of us have to join this union, and we have to be in the leadership.
Did you say you were fired from that job?
Once I was, but they took me right back.
They knew a good thing when they saw it.
Yeah, well, that was an interesting story. Like I said, the people there was just not used to having African Americans in the midst. And a couple of them, very biased, would sit on the board and pretend they were shooting us and all this other kind of stuff. Back then we had the manual boards that you plugged into, operator, you have 3 minutes, that kind of stuff. And we used to have these little sleeves that when we had a toll call, that's what they call a paying from a payphone, we used to write the time so we know when to go back in and tell them that 3 minutes were up. Mm-hmm. They had to put some more money. Well, we had one lady who, she put, this N, and she drew a line, is a nasty cow. And she folded up and asked me, how bold is that, to pass it to her friend. And I said, okay. I took the little thing, I opened it up and I read it, and then I passed it to a friend. At that point in time, I plugged into the CO jack, and I said, you probably need to call the police now. And she said, the police? What for? I said, because I'm about to punch the blank out of this blank. Okay. By that time, chairs was falling all over, and all this kind of stuff. They wanted to take me out in a wheelchair, as though I was sick. But anyway, I was fired because I grabbed her, But once again, God was watching over me because I did not know the person that hired me was a district director. And when he saw I had been dismissed, he could not believe that because back then they used to come to your house, they'd meet your parents, they'd check your teeth. I mean, all kind of stuff.
Just as if you were going to play football at LSU, right?
Yeah, I thought the teeth stuff was like a horse or something, checking my teeth. Really?
That was common practice.
I didn't know that.
And even in the 70s, I know places that went to interview minorities at their house
they came
to join
to meet our parents
different
and all
organizations.
But anyway, when the district director saw that I had been dismissed, he came back to my house and he asked me what had happened, and I just told him. They didn't pay me enough money to be insulted and, disrespected. And he said, what are you talking about? And I told him some of the things we had experienced there since I had been there. And he said, had you reported? And I said, yes, we have. He said, and what was done? And I said, nothing. And he said, you report back to work tomorrow morning. So that's exactly what I did. And then I stood there for 9 years until I came to the FLC.
And you moved up to rank and file.
Right. I was in the union. I then became...
Who hired you with the AFL-CIO?
Yes. You're a little younger than us. Well, you're younger than both of us. And that wasn't a good hire for Victor Busey. Sybil Holt was not a good hire for Victor Busey.
Because they didn't want a woman.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't mind. They had made a decision that they would hire a minority.
Right.
But not even the blacks assumed it would be a woman.
They were looking for a Chinese when they said minority, Sybil, okay? I don't know if you know this.
I'll tell you, Sybil, you proved them wrong, didn't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I tell people all the time, my mama don't raise any dummies and we don't get stuck on stupid.
Well, is there anything else you want to touch on or?
Well, I would like to say that people who are not making a lot of money need to check with the cities for, what affordable housing programs there are. These are grants they give people. They will, if you qualified, you can qualify for the house. They will give you $40,000, sometime more, depending on where you live, towards that house. I mean, people in Alexandria. Because we were...
So let me stop you because
Sure.
I heard a conversation. Matter of fact, it's amazing because I heard this conversation. I think it was last Thursday or Friday. I was eating a burger in one of the little places on airline, and I heard some people talking about that. Is there an income, or do you know the income?
Well, it's different for the various parishes, but let me just use Alexandria as
what you know.
Example.
What you know.
In Alexandria, one person can make $27,000. Two people can make like 30, maybe 31. Three, it'll go up to approximately 34, and it goes up based on. But if you have four people in the house and all you're making is 36, 37,
right.
That's no money.
Mm-hmm.
To raise 2-3 kids, that's just no money. So you may qualify. Or first-year teachers. I think, unless it's changed, we're starting here at about 28.
Right.
That almost qualifies for it. You know what I'm saying? So you should never assume. Go and check. There's a thing called CHODOs, Community Housing Development Organization. CHODOs. If you call a city and ask, Baton Rouge, I know for a fact, have 8 of them all over this city. People who are not making very much money need to call, locate the CHODO in their area.
One more time, CHODO.
CHODO, C-H-D-O. Community Housing Development Organization.
Okay.
And see if they qualify for any of these affordable houses. Because if they do, like I say, the houses on an average, when we were building back then, was like $140,000. And they gave them, our organization, because it was the first one they were testing, 90,000 to these people. Now, like I said, they give about 40.
Mm-hmm. That's still great.
Right. You know, because you'd never be able to afford a house for $140,000 if you're making 27.
Sybil, does that also apply for apartments, like if for the rentals, or do you know anything about that?
Rentals are income eligibility based also.
They approximately the same amount that you were talking about right there?
Okay, the apartments, like in the Alex area, is running around 600 and something a month. You know, but you have to qualify to get those apartments. But in Alexandria, they're 3-bedroom apartments, 2 baths, living room, dining room, kitchen, front porch, back, really nice apartments. Mm-hmm. But that's what I'm saying.
And what would the income be for the wage earners?
No, I cannot quote that for the apartments because that's not what I do. You know, I just bill them.
Yeah, okay.
Sybil, Bob, I'd like to suggest a project that you might want to look at in Baton Rouge. Brandywine Apartments. I know you're in Alexandria, right? Or Freeport. In about 28 days, they're shutting off the water there. The water has 1 meter. It's been shut off on several occasions. And there are, I think, 77 condominiums left. Some people have been living there as long as 30 years.
Some people purchased these.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. But the owner is currently like 70, 80,000 back on his water bill.
Mike, you're not even close.
Or is it more?
Oh, my God.
Well, I know.
30-something thousand.
You know, it's a lot of money. And in about 28 days, the water company said, hey, that's it. They've been cut it off and negotiated several times. But this guy just said he made a bad investment. That's it.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, my lovely wife works right there at St. Louis King of France, and her classroom literally faces Brandywine.
Okay.
And
it's not a good place to live right now.
And it's really a shame because they got some people there that's all they got.
I was going to buy one of those in the 70s for like $35,000.
But the one thing I heard you say that baffling me, there was only 1 water meter for all these apartments?
I started reading about that. That's not uncommon because you pay what is the thing? Association fee. And some of these people have been paying $300 a month through this association fee. And their water is shut off.
That is hard.
Yeah.
You see, that kind of stuff breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And I know the gentleman who said he made a bad investment. No, he did not invest enough.
Yeah.
You know, because the first thing...
They're dilapidated.
That's what I'm saying. The first thing I'd have done is...
What he's saying is he's not getting rent. He's got 77 units or something like that.
50-something are rented out.
And he's saying he's not getting rent is what he's saying.
Well, would you be paying for it if you don't know?
Well, at one time...
They did. Yeah.
At one time after Katrina, the people that were living there, the previous owner, is my understanding, absconded, and they didn't even know who to pay the rent to.
Right.
But what I'm saying, if you knew somebody in this area, that could be a project.
Yeah, because I mean, you're fixing to be looking at 50 families that are going to be homeless.
Displaced.
I think it's more than that, and not only that.
I forgot about because there's about 20 that literally own the apartments. So older people be kicked out too.
And the thing is that when they do close that down, it's not going to get better.
Yeah. Sybil, I'm fixing to step out for a second, but I'm going to leave you here with Mike. Any other person, I would kind of worry about it, but not you.
Well, anyway, we've covered your
just about everything,
yeah. And Sybil, we're going to wrap it up, and we've got something we say here closing the show. If you work for free, you'll always have a job.
Glad I don't work for free.
You used to a lot.
You're right.
So we want to thank Miss Sybil Holt. She is former president of the Louisiana FLCIO and current president of S. Holt Construction. Thanks a lot, Sybil.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having
Sybil.
me. Bye-bye.